bases dropped on a MLS Eastern Conference Semifinal morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta United hosts the Philadelphia Union tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Kickoff is after 8 o'clock tonight. There's a little more expectation on tonight because Toronto FC went to Citi Field and beat New York City last night 2-1 to knock the number 1 seed out of the Eastern Conference playoffs. That means whoever wins tonight, Atlanta or Philadelphia, host the Eastern Conference final against Toronto next Wednesday. Lots of things have just opened up if you're Atlanta or if you're Philadelphia tonight because of this situation. We'll talk about what happened last night. We'll look at the other match tonight, El Tráfico, Zlatan and Carlos Vela facing off. Late night MLS Cup playoffs after dark, but we're going to talk a lot about Atlanta and Philadelphia and everything to expect this evening from the Benz. Second hour, Mike Conti will join us at 10 o'clock. Doug Robertson will join us at 10:30. We're going to get to as many of your questions and comments as we can, so throw them in at us on Twitter, at SoccerDownHere. John, let's start with what happened last night, and we'll start with the early game. New York City looked like a team that hadn't played in about 2.5 weeks in the first half. They looked much better in the second half, but it was two very silly defensive mistakes that end up costing New York City their season. It's a back header from Maxime Chanot that doesn't make it to Sean Johnson, and it's an awful decision for a tackle inside the 18 by Ronald Matarrita, and that's enough to knock New York City out.
And when Alejandro Pozuelo steps to the spot and he goes full-blown Panenka to put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, that was let's phrase it this way. For me, that was serious confidence in yourself, in your abilities in that kind of a situation with that much time left in the match. And as you say, sometimes that's all it takes. It's a pass that doesn't have enough weight on it. It's a header that goes the wrong way. It's a stupid decision by Matarrita as Richie Larea is trying to work his way around him and cut back to the left and go inside on him as they go late. But that's what it takes sometimes. And it's just one of those things and turned into two of those things. And NYCFC, as you said, first 45 looked completely and totally flat. They looked like they had not played in a couple of weeks, short of whatever they did behind a wall playing whoever was assembled for Chicago. But that's what the postseason's all about, and especially with this new format of the one and done. If it's one mistake, it'll cost you. NYCFC made 2 mistakes. They're heading home.
Toronto comes in with no Josie Altidore in the 18, no Omar Gonzalez in the starting 11. He was available off the bench but not used, and they still find a way to get this done. Sean Johnson made 5 saves on the night. Toronto could have scored in the first half with a couple of nice opportunities. Johnson kept them out. Quentin Westberg, 5 saves on the night for Toronto. It just took NYC so long to get going. Pozuelo gets the first goal after the header from Chanot. It was a mistake from Alexander Ring in front of him as well. Then NYC answered back in probably their best run in the match. Ismail Tajori-Shradi with a beautiful half volley off across from Maxi Morales. And it felt like New York City was going to turn this on its head and take it. And then it kind of fizzled out, and it feels like, well, we're headed to extra time. And it's just an awful decision by Matarrita to go to ground as Richie Larea is trying to turn the corner but running out of room. He's going to put in a cross, it looks like, if he can get there and get his hips around it. So there's no need to make the tackle if you're Ronald Matarrita. It's an easy decision for the referee, Jair Marufo. And Pozuelo, with all the confidence in the world, goes to the spot and gets Johnson moving to one side and just chips him with the Panenka. And that's your ball game. There's no time for New York City. They did create a little bit of chaos at the end. Sean Johnson was up for a corner, knocks it back into the 18. The shot's saved. That's it, though. New York City in a 90-minute knockout takes at least 45 minutes too long to get going, and they're not moving on. Fourth time in a row that they can't get past the Eastern Conference semifinals. The format has to be something that you talk about here. I think all of the hype about how great the change in the format was, all you did was added 2 more knockout round games so far. This is where it feels like it has a huge impact. This is where, in the past, if you have that bye, it's mitigated a little bit because you get 180 minutes and you get the second game at home and you get to ease into things a little bit. Not anymore. And it showed last night because New York City did not look up to playoff pace and playoff intensity until at least the goal was scored by Pozuelo. I mean, they looked like they were at half speed before that.
And when you're watching a match involving a home game with NYCFC, same thing happened at Citi Field as it does at Yankee Stadium. It is a game where even as a viewer, you have to pay attention for the entire time. You mentally cannot take a break as a viewer. So for the guys who are playing this thing, it is rapid fire. It is crisp passes. It is short passes to get out of jams. You saw, for Toronto, you saw Michael Bradley all over the field last night and coming back all the way back to help out defensively. And I thought that Bradley was one of the stars for Toronto in making sure that NYCFC was clamped down offensively last night. Obviously, you look at folks like Delgado and Pozuelo and players like that, but I thought that Bradley really shone last night in keeping NYCFC in check.
Stars come out in the postseason and leaders come out in the postseason, and what Michael Bradley is to Toronto FC, that's what Alejandro Bedoya is for Philadelphia. And Jim Curtin said yesterday that he's going to play. There's no question about it. Said that he thought he was out of gas multiple times in the first playoff match. He kept finding another gear. He said he was cramping up in that playoff match. I thought it looked like the quad was still bothering him, but you're not keeping Bedoya out, and they're going to need that type of performance tonight. Atlanta's going to need that type of performance from its leaders. It's that time of year. For New York City, they really didn't get that type of performance consistently from anyone to lead them in these dangerous moments. It just never came through for them, and they looked overwhelmed. After the match, there were some very interesting comments from Dome Tarrant, the manager for New York City. There had been some kind of under-the-radar rumors out there about Giovanni von Bronckhorst coming in and taking over at New York City. He joined I don't even know how to explain it exactly, the coaching circle of Manchester City and City Football Group at the beginning of this European season in September. He left Feyenoord after last season, and the idea has been that eventually he will be the one to take over for Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. I kind of wonder if Mikel Arteta will have anything to say about that, but who knows. But part of that process for Von Bronckhorst was maybe to come to New York City. So that had been rumored, but it was really quiet because New York City's had a great season. There really isn't a need to change manager because Dome Tarrant, I think, has done a good job. If you heard his comments after the match last night, they didn't sound like somebody who was coming back.
No.
They did not sound like somebody who will be in charge at Yankee Stadium next year. A couple of the quotes. Bob Williams Bob75 on Twitter, who writes for a number of different sources. One quote, New York City FC, NYCFC are ready for another coach. Don't worry. Okay. I mean, that's pretty clear. He said he would not confirm anything about next season. He said he has to go speak to the people in Manchester about this. He went on to talk a little bit, showed a little frustration about, it took them a long time to get Eber into the team, and he did come off the bench last night, but his injury had a huge effect on New York City late in the season. It just took them a while to get things done, and maybe they didn't spend quite as much as some other teams have, and it did not sound like someone who either is coming back or necessarily wants to come back. And that's a big question mark for New York City because, look, the questions were there when Dome took over from Patrick Vieira. I think 2019 New York City was the best they have been. I think it's the best team that they have had. They still didn't get any further than they've gotten in the past, but I think this was the best season they've had. This was the best quality of soccer that they've had. It's going to be tough for anybody to come in and replace that. And we'll have to see if that's Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, and to your point, I think it was both when it comes to Dome Toronto. It's someone who seemed frustrated by his place and kind of didn't exude what was going down, and he didn't really dig what was going on around him. Dylan Butler's piece at Pro Soccer USA says, Toronto said, don't know what'll happen. Right now we have time. It's October. We have time to talk about the next year. But don't worry, because if Dome's not here, the most important thing is the club. Good team, amazing players. No doubt about if Dome is the head coach or another coach, he can play really well with these kind of players. Just seemed like a dude who was completely and totally frustrated last night.
I don't know if I'd say frustrated. I mean, and then it's not frustrated last night. I mean, I think it's one. I mean, he said, and another quote from last night is, "I have to go to Manchester and speak with the bosses." So,
right.
I mean, that one. If you're gonna leave the door open, well, it sounds like not just Dome's leaving the door open, but the bosses are leaving the door open. If he has to go talk to them about what's going to happen. He said, I'm not sure if I will be back, but the coach is not important. The most important is that the club renewed very important players and can move forward. And they did. They made sure to renew contracts. This is going to be a strong team next season. Whoever comes in is going to have a good group to work with. And, I mean, everything he's saying is absolutely true. The other thing that's interesting is Torrent is from Girona, and he has been there before on the coaching staff. They just, I believe in the last week, fired their manager. And you wonder if Torrent might just go there and help a club that's really important to him and kind of restart his European career there. You know, we've talked a lot about Torrent was the right-hand man for Pep Guardiola for a number of years, going back to the Barcelona B days. It feels like, you know, whenever these changes happen and Torrent comes over to New York, and we've seen Pep in New York, and he's talked to players, and City Football Group is trying to build all of these links and make them stronger. But, you know, Mikel Arteta is next to Pep on the bench in Manchester now, and now you have the Van Bronckhorst stuff, and I mean, maybe he's not as connected with the City Football Group side of things as he used to be. And if there's new faces coming through, and maybe that's where you're going to go in the long term. And for Dome Torrent, it might be the time to go take a more comfortable job at a club that he would obviously have a lot of say in, and be able to do what he wants to do there and just work. I mean, this is a guy who, you know, I think he's enjoyed his time in New York City for the most part. I think he's enjoyed being the front man for a change because he hasn't really done that much in his career. He always looks like he enjoys speaking to the media, you know, in pregame moments and in halftime moments. Yeah, he shows frustration with the media as well, but he feels very real in his interactions with it. So, you know, he's a guy, though, ultimately who has been most involved throughout his career training and working and building. And to be able to go to, you know, let's be real, it's a smaller club than New York City. It's a smaller club than the places Dome's been at. To be able to go there and work in a different type of scenario might be very appealing to him. So it doesn't sound like Dome Torrent's back. We'll see what direction New York City goes in, but they've got to get over this hump at some point. You know, 4 straight times falling in the Eastern Conference Semifinal. Something's got to change for them. Seattle gets the job done. They win 2-0 over RSL in the late night game last night. took a while to break through. RSL played probably as well as they can in these types of moments. It's 11 straight playoff wins at home for the Seattle Sounders going back to 2013. The interesting note is that with this win, there has been a Cascadian team in the Western Conference Final every year for 8 straight seasons, either Seattle or Portland. Vancouver hasn't gotten into that yet. The Couch Ultras are very upset about this. But it's been Seattle or Portland every year since 2012 in the Western Conference Final, and Seattle waits to see who they're going to face. They might be at home if it's the LA Galaxy. They might go on the road if it's LAFC, and they'll find out tonight. The big storyline coming out of this one, though, is the end of Nick Rimondo's career. 553 matches in MLS, and he had a good night last night. He did everything that he could to keep RSL going, but it just wasn't enough.
And there were some saves that were just absolutely insane, and I know that was it late first half when he made a save and ended up falling on his left shoulder and kind of had to nurse his way through that for the remainder of the match. But he was the Nick Rimando that we always will know. It's not like one of those lion in winter celebration kind of a things where he's a guy who he's on his last legs and he's just kind of hanging on. No, Nick Rimando was still solid, showed it again last night, kept RSL in the match as best he could. And to go out in a loss, but to continue to show what you've been to MLS in your entire career. I mean, it was really cool to see guys from Seattle, and Stephen Fry went up and they had a moment, and Jordan Morris went up after the match and they got the chance to catch up. And it was good to see, even though RSL goes out on a loss, it was good to see that Rimando could still show you what he had on the table.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Fry and Jordan Morris are paying tribute to the best goalkeeper Major League Soccer's ever seen. That's what they're doing there. That's what every player should have been doing and probably was doing after the match. I mean, you're talking about the GOAT. There's just no way around it. That many matches, all the success, all the trophies, no Goalkeeper of the Year awards, which is just mind-blowing. Yeah. Incredible. And he made 8 saves on the night. He did everything possible to keep this team in it and couldn't do it. Seattle was just too good. Seattle got a good defensive performance, and Seattle will have a question mark for the Western Conference Final. Roman Torres left the match with a hamstring strain. Xavier Arriaga replaced him. I think Arriaga will be a focal point next season. He hasn't been that just yet for this group, and he's going to have to be now because hamstring strain, weak turnaround, it's going to be tough for Torres to be able to bounce back that quickly. RSL just couldn't get enough going forward. Only one shot on goal. It wasn't enough. Ladero was outstanding, as he always is. Seattle will go as far as Nico Ladero takes them, and right now he's got him to the Western Conference Final.
And Brian Schmetzer made a point to take Jordan Morris out after a very physical evening, but it was about time management more than anything else, even though there was a bit of a limp as Morris was leaving. So what Schmetzer told the media was that was more time management, knowing that the possibility was there, and now it is there where you're going to have more matches. So just looking forward to seeing the underdog Seattle Sounders continuing their way forward.
Matt Pence shared with us Brian Schmetzer's post-match comments, and he's playing the card that a lot of managers do, even though I don't think it has any place in this one.
Nope.
They've been at home in the first 2 games. They've been the favorite in both 2 games, but the comment from Schmetzer after the match, it feels pretty darn good. It makes me think that all the people at Sounder at Heart and other places that think we have an old, tired team, I think we have an experienced team. I think we have a really good team and a team that can do some special things. Good shout out for the SB Nation site that does a great job covering the Seattle Sounders. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know where your head's at when you have this type of situation. I mean, Steve Zakawani nails it in his comment to it, straight out of the Belichick playbook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just whatever you can find to tell your players, hey, everybody thinks you're not good enough. Go show them.
Yeah,
it's an old school trick. It's it's
you're not fooling
really
anybody.
Yeah, well, you're fooling your players. Yeah, you are fooling somebody. You're fooling your players because if that's what works, that's what works. It's silly. No, don't ugh me. Everybody does it.
I'm not
Bill
ucking you.
Belichick
I'm
does
ucking
it.
Schmetzer.
But Bill Belichick does it, and nobody thinks these things about the New England Patriots. But he does it. Nick Saban does it when they're playing
And they
some
all
nobody.
get eye rolls over it.
Yeah, and does it work? I don't think they care about our eye rolls. They don't care about what Sounder at heart thinks.
You shouldn't care what your head coach is sitting there in a narrative and you're trying to spin when you know the opposite is true. If you have enough confidence in yourself.
I completely disagree, John. If you're a player, you're not getting overly analytical here. And if you are, then that coach has lost you. No, the player should not be sitting there saying, well, no, Coach Schmetzer, you're foolish here. No, stop. Like, no, whatever it takes to bring the group together. Where I think it's silly is to do it this way after the game, after you were the home favorite, after you've done
and you're the 2 seed.
That's not stop. That's not what I'm saying. It's silly. It's not silly to do this with your team internally. Not at all. I would be pointing out every single thing that somebody said bad about you. If that's going to get your team up, if that's going to motivate your team, fine. This was not in a post-game meeting with the team. This was to the media afterwards. That's where it looks foolish.
Right.
Because the media knows better in the situation. If you're doing this in a team meeting, absolutely. You're the 2 seed. You're the favorite. You know,
no one believes you.
The media doesn't believe in you because, hey, the Sounders haven't been good defensively for a while, and people have said something about it. But if you can say that to your players and say, hey, they're questioning you, go show them, and it gets a reaction, absolutely you do it. But then repeating it afterwards in the media, it's not a great look because that does get played out at some point. And when you do fail, the knives come out. That's the part that isn't smart about it. And if Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and others who pull that off on a regular basis, well, they haven't failed very much. So the knives haven't come out very much. But is Brian Schmetzer, is the Seattle Sounders team, if they get LAFC, okay, absolutely, you can play that all day long.
Right.
And the media will play along with it because you are the underdog. But if you get the Galaxy at home, I don't know if he gets questioned if he says that to the media in Seattle, but he should because then they should be the dominant favorite. If you say it to your players, cool, go for it.
Yeah, I get that. I was more discussing the outbound comment by Schmetzer in a press conference situation when all of us are sitting there going, okay, really? You're going to go there? And he went there. All right.
I don't know if he was questioned about it or not. He should have been because, they are an older group defensively. They haven't been great defensively. They've been shaky defensively. It's definitely worth questioning them. They stood up last night and showed everybody because they shut down a good attack in RSL. Good for them. They've got to do it again if they're going to get to the MLS Cup final because either way, if it's the Galaxy at CenturyLink or if it's LAFC, you're going to be dealing with a team that can score a bunch of goals on you. Either way. So you're going to have that type of defensive performance because I don't think you get here if you have another performance defensively like you did against Dallas.
Right.
Like you did many times in the last few months of the season. We'll see if the Sounders can keep dialing it up. Arriaga is going to have to be big. Torres, you have to wonder if he can bounce back. Maybe it was a very minor thing, but to come out in a knockout round game, it better be more than a minor thing. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see next week, and they'll be watching tonight to see who wins in Los Angeles. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and preview that one and take some questions from you guys on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. Hang out with us. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, match day preview edition, Atlanta and Philadelphia. Kickoff will be after 8 o'clock tonight. I believe 8:15 is what I've seen. I'll try to see if I can get that confirmed before we finish up. We'll be on the air on 92.9 The Game at 7 o'clock tonight, getting you set with an hour of pre-match coverage. We'll have the full-time report following the final whistle, whenever that is, for another hour. Stephen Glass from Atlanta United 2 will be joining us in the first half hour of the pre-match coverage to talk a little bit about how the twos went this year, but more importantly, tonight, with all the injuries, there's a very good chance that some players Stephen Glass has gotten to know very well at the end of the season will be part of the 18 tonight. So we'll be able to talk to him a little bit, because the lineup will be out by that stage, about players that he's seen up close and personal in Atlanta United 2 matches here lately. Mo Adams has spent a lot of time there. You have to expect Mikey Ambrose is going to be part of the 18 tonight. He's played a lot of games for Atlanta United 2 as of late. So the importance of the twos could really come into play this evening with the injuries that Frank DeBoer's facing. There's some injuries that LAFC is facing as well. Mark Anthony Kaye, it's not looking great for him to be part of the match tonight. Walker Zimmerman, it sounds a little bit better for him to be part of the match tonight. But LAFC is hosting a team in the LA Galaxy that they've never beaten. They've never beaten the LA Galaxy, and they've had some of their crazier moments against the LA Galaxy. We can go through what these teams have done coming in. I mean, LAFC have scored at least 3 goals in 8 of their last 10 matches at home. The Galaxy have scored at least 2 goals in their last 6 matches. LAFC's undefeated in 16 of their last 17 home matches. The one that I think is the most important, LA Galaxy are undefeated against LAFC, flat out.
Yep.
The times at Bank of California Stadium, it's been a draw. A draw, you keep playing tonight. You go another 30. If it's still a draw, you go to penalties. Can LAFC get over this mental block when it comes to the LA Galaxy tonight?
I have to continue to go with my train of thought and say no. I just, with the layoff, with the injuries, with the depth issues that Bob Bradley has, with the trust that he has in the guys that he trots out there, and it's consistently a certain bunch. And then, to me, that's just resembled something that's a bit top-heavy when it comes to who you want out there. And then your bench is kind of thin in certain spots. And now you have to think about the injury to Mark Anthony Kaye. Can Walker Zimmerman give you a full 120 if you need it? Then you're relying on guys who haven't put in a lot of minutes if he can't? Is Lee Wynn going to be the substitute for Mark Anthony Kaye tonight? I just have too many questions, and I figure that the Galaxy, with what we saw in the opening round and Guillermo Barros Escaloto, they're gonna have it pieced together. Even though I know the Galaxy are porous defensively, so I think that the over is the play. But I just still don't have any faith in LAFC. I really don't.
I don't really have a lot of faith in the LA Galaxy either, though, and that has to be said as well. It's not like we're talking about a team that has been lighting the league on fire as of late. This is a team in the LA Galaxy that I think took advantage of a Minnesota team that looked like the moment was a little too big for them. They couldn't get anything going in the attack consistently, and the Galaxy win 2-1 in the first round of the playoffs. 2 matches prior to that, they lost 4-2 in Houston on decision day. They lost 4-3 to the Vancouver Whitecaps at home in the regular season home finale. Ugh, I mean, that's just an awful way to come into the postseason. But this is a Galaxy team that doesn't really make any sense. You know, I mean, they started 4 center backs in the match against Minnesota, and it worked. They don't really have a consistent style of play. It's, where's Zlatan? Okay, find Zlatan. All right, look for the ball off of Zlatan. Okay, now everybody just somehow defend. That's just where you're at. I mean, it's Romney, Polenta, Steris, and Gonzalez who started on the back line. All 4 are primarily center backs. Perry Kitchen and Jonathan Dos Santos have yeoman's work to do in front of them to try to have it make some kind of logic. And then it's your front 4. And it's Leggett, it's Pavone, it's Antuna, it's Ibrahimovic. It could be Alessandrini tonight. You've got Chris Pontius off the bench. But the fact that you go in this match, you don't play Rolf Felcher, you haven't really had a left back in a while. I don't know what you're looking like tonight. I'm guessing you're going to basically separate the team in a lot of ways. It's going to be your back 4 who are going to stay for the most part, although Romney was getting forward a good bit down the left, which is not his game, but okay. I think tonight you're not going to be able to do that. It's going to be a back 4 that stays at home. It's going to be Perry Kitchen who stays at home in front of him. It's going to be Jonathan Dos Santos who tries to link everything up. And it's going to be very direct from the Galaxy. You're not going to try to build up play. You're not going to try to get out down the wings. It's going to be win the ball, play it long, go fight for it, look for Zlatan. If Pavone gets it, let him create something. Cool. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot of tactics going on with the LA Galaxy at the moment. When you have a figure like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, sometimes that's the best way to play it. Keep it simple. Let the big man do his job, and let the big man carry you as far as he can carry you. LAFC, without Mark Anthony Kaye, without Walker Zimmerman, if neither one get to go tonight, they need to look to their big man, and that's Carlos Vela. And Carlos Vela is going to have to put the team on his back a little bit. He's had an unbelievable season, but he's done it in a very different way than Joseph Martinez did it last year, and he's done it in a very different way than Zlatan does it this year. He's not that player. He's not that number 9 that is the focal point of everything for the team when they go forward. He is best off to the wing. He's best when the team does everything that they're supposed to do and they turn the ball over. He's best then when they turn it over, play to Vela, and then let him go in a 1v1 situation and make a decision. It's a different way of playing. Can he do more? Can he be more? He's got the ability to. He's not necessarily that kind of player, though. So it's not just Carlos Vela putting the team on his back. He's got to get something from Diego Rossi. If Adama Diomande can get back up to fitness and contribute for LAFC tonight, they're a much better team with him, because then it makes a little more sense. It makes a little more logical sense. But how you replace Walker Zimmerman if he can't go, how you replace Mark Anthony Kaye, because you don't have like-for-like replacements for either one. You just don't. How you handle that, Bob Bradley was the manager of the year, deservedly so, in MLS. If he finds a way to win without Zimmerman, without Kaye tonight, put an extra addition on the award, because it will be an epic type of performance to be able to figure that out, because there's not an easy answer for him when he decides his lineup and fills out that card tonight. What in the world are the purveyors thinking about this?
All right, and we have the entire run, so full-time result, method of victory, and qualification. So here we go. Full-time result, LAFC minus 250. LA Galaxy plus 550. Draw plus 400. Method of victory. You've got the 90-minute version. LAFC in extra time plus 900. Galaxy in extra time plus 2,200. LAFC winning in penalties plus 2,000. Galaxy winning in penalties plus 2,200. So to qualify, they have LAFC, our friends at Bet365, have LAFC qualifying at minus 500, the Galaxy at plus 333.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Galaxy in 90 minutes, because
Tell
I
me
think
why.
the longer it goes, the longer it goes, the more it's going to tilt toward LAFC, and I just don't think that the bench and the defense can hang on for longer than 90. I think that it's going to have to be Dos Santos and Zlatan and Pavone getting something done by themselves, basically, and it's going to have to be done, and they're going to have to do it in 90 minutes. That's my gut is Galaxy. I don't think the longer it goes, the more I think LAFC wins it. So I guess by default, I'm looking at the Galaxy in 90 minutes.
No, I understand that, but we're not talking about just some team in LAFC. We're talking about the best team in the MLS regular season history in LAFC.
Right.
I know the Galaxy don't want to go to extra time, but how do they win in regulation?
I think it's another Dos Santos set piece. I really do. I think that they hang around. Zlatan gets one, and then I think that Dos Santos gets another one in off a set piece past Miller, and it's 2-1 final.
Of course it's 2-1. It's John picking it. I understand this, but there's no way the LA Galaxy keep LAFC to one goal. There's no way that happens. Not tonight. I don't see it. I think it's LAFC in extra time, because I think this is just a stupid game in regulation time. I don't know how the Galaxy hang around if it's not. If it's a normal kind of match and LAFC gets control and takes it, they could win this 5-0. They're that much better. For whatever reason, they really struggle against the Galaxy, who obviously are always up for this. Zlatan always up for the big moments. And LAFC has to show that they can get through the big moments. I think they do tonight. I think they have to. I mean, they haven't so far. They have to do it. If they don't, I don't know where they're at next year. I don't know where they are mentally, because they are like so much better than the LA Galaxy, especially when you compare LAFC's attack to the Galaxy's defense. I mean, if you go to goal for LAFC, you should be having wonderful, beautiful dreams about running at this back line for the LA Galaxy. They're awful. The Vancouver Whitecaps and Houston Dynamo put up 8 goals in the last 2 regular season games against this group. You have to get this done if you're LAFC.
Yeah,
yes, that's a
not
lot
a
of pressure.
dispute.
No, you have to. That's a lot of pressure. You have to do it. If you don't, I don't want to hear a word about LAFC being the best team in MLS history. If they can't do this, they had the best regular season, but they are not the best team in MLS history. If they can't get past an LA Galaxy team that gave up 8 goals to 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs in the last 2 weeks of the season, they have no claim to being the best team in MLS history if they can't do that. I think they are one of the best teams in MLS history, and I think they find a way, even if with the injuries. I think because it's a crazy game and the Galaxy can't keep LAFC out, I'll go 4-2 in extra time. I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid. I think it's insane for the announcers. I think John Champion and Taylor Twellman might lose their voices. I think the Spanish language announcers absolutely will lose their voices. I think most of the people in the building at Bank of California Stadium will lose their voices, whether they're wearing a Galaxy shirt or an LAFC shirt. It will be a spectacle, because I just don't see how it's not. Yeah. Now, typically when that happens, it turns into a 1-0 nail-biter. I don't know how it happens this way for these two teams. If it's a low-scoring match for one team, I think it's the Galaxy because LAFC runs them out of the building because they have that capability. They've just never done it. In a big game, they've never done it. They have to at some point. They have to. They're too good not to. And this has to be the night that they do it.
If they don't, then they're the 2001 Seattle Mariners, LAFC. 116 and 40, people, 116 and 46, tying the major league record for wins that was set 95 years previous, and then they get bounced in the playoffs. No World Series, no American League flag, no nothing. Bunch of records, and you're out in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You can't be the best team in history though if you do that.
Nope,
it's not possible. And LAFC has been ridiculous this season. They've been absolutely ridiculous. The last time they were in this type of scenario, they lost in the Open Cup quarterfinal to the Portland Timbers at Bank of California Stadium on July 10th. Since then, their big games that they've played, they lost to the LA Galaxy on the 19th of July. They beat Atlanta United 4-3 on July 26th. I'm looking for other big games. They drew with the Galaxy at Bank of California 3-3 on August 25th. No, that's a 3 seed. I mean, that's it. Like, the teams they've played since the loss to the Galaxy that are still alive right now, Atlanta, they won at home. They drew the Galaxy. They drew with Philadelphia at Philadelphia. That's it. They played Seattle early in the year, beat them at home, drew with them in Seattle. You know, they have taken care of everything in front of them, but they haven't had a lot of tests lately. They have to do it. They just have to. When you look at these two teams, like, I can't in any good faith tell you that the LA Galaxy win this and give you a logical reason why.
Yeah.
There's no reason why the LA Galaxy should win this.
None.
So I have to tell you that LAFC wins it. I think it's extra time. I think it's 4-2. They have to show that they can win a big game. They have not really done that in their history. They just haven't. They've been great in games that they should win. They haven't stepped up to win games that they have to. Tonight's a have to, and we'll find out what they can do. They have to start better than New York City did. They have to start better than NYCFC did, because if they don't and Zlatan gets an early goal, you think that the Galaxy have been in their head before. Hey. It's got all the potential for all of the craziness tonight. It'll be a hopefully fun dessert for Atlanta United fans. It might be a crazy drunken night at the bar for Atlanta United fans if the earlier game doesn't go the way that the 17s are hoping. We will see, and we will start talking about that next. We'll get your Twitter questions and comments from @SoccerDown here in the next segment. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, October 24th. Getting ready for Atlanta and Philadelphia tonight at the Benz. You guys have questions. We might have answers. Let's hear it.
Okay, first up is Natasha from after the first match last night. And by the way, Natasha at Kitchen Witch ATL actually knows the location of which I was discussing mozzarella wedges the other night.
Oh, nice.
And she agrees that they are that they are excellent. So, her question leads off today. How much do we think the bye is a handicap in disguise?
In a 90-minute knockout format, it's a handicap in disguise because 180, you can weather a bad half as you get up to speed. In 90, that's half of the time. You're screwed, as New York City was. I've always felt like in any of these situations, the bye is not worth as much as you think it is because the team that you're facing is coming in after a win. They're coming in with some momentum. They're coming in with a rhythm. Yes, they might be a little more tired, but they're coming in a different position. You're coming in having not played in 2.5 weeks because that's the biggest combination of things here is the change in format to 90 minutes instead of 180. The change in scheduling to start the playoffs after the international window, which means you're sitting for 2 weeks, and the bye. So all of that combined means you're playing a team that played a few days before, you haven't played in 2.5 weeks, and you only have 90 minutes to get a result instead of 180, and in that 180, you had the second leg at home. It's rough. And it showed for New York City last night. Absolutely showed for New York City last night. If you're New York City and you're in that match, first off, you would have been in Toronto for the first leg. So you would have had the second leg at Yankee Stadium, not Citi Field. If you get into the first half, and let's say it plays out in a similar way, it's on a completely different field. Toronto's the home team, but maybe Toronto's a little more expansive. Maybe you come in a little more defensive, especially with Eber not being 90 minutes fit. If it's 1-1 at the point that you get the Tajori Shradi goal, you're happy, you're good, you're going to lock it down and be defensive. You're not going to be in the position to give up that penalty late. And if you go back to Yankee Stadium 1-1 in the second leg, I think New York City wins. Even if they lose 1-0 in Toronto, I think they find a way to win the second leg and go through. You don't get that in this format anymore. So, yeah, it's a hindrance.
Michael Valverde says, watching the Sounders and Real Salt Lake after that Citi Field squeeze play is a massive juxtaposition. MLS needs to force NYCFC to get a real football pitch now.
It's not that easy. I mean, we can keep stomping our feet and demanding that they make NYC get a real pitch, but where and how is the questions. I think what they have to do is put essentially a deadline on this. And I guess maybe they did, but it wasn't truly a deadline. It was hey, it'd be really nice if we've got a stadium built by this time. Well, now we don't have a plan in place unless there's something that is being worked on, and there's always that talk behind the scenes that you'll get an announcement, you'll get a development, what have you. If there's something in motion, great. It needs to come to the fore soon. If there's not, there has to be a deadline on there being something in motion. And in these types of situations, it's one thing if your home base, your Yankee Stadium field, is not what it should be. This is another bad option, and it's a worse option when it comes from a TV perspective because of the netting. It's just stupid.
Oh.
It's bad. It's a bad look. The league should then come out and say, all right, you don't have Yankee Stadium available. You're going to play at Red Bull Arena. You're renting the place, fair price, negotiate the price if you're the league so the Red Bulls don't try to rip people off. But, yeah, you're going to play there. I don't care. I know you don't want to. I don't care. If you can't play at Yankee Stadium, that's where you have to play your games. That's your secondary option. No more of this nonsense. It's one thing when your original venue is not great. It's another when you pick another bad venue. That's your option. The league needs to put that pressure on because that's an easy one. And that again, it makes sense. It's fair. I don't think you can say it's not fair. So that's the first step. But, yeah, I agree. It's got to change. It's got to change for the vitality of the club because I think that's the biggest reason why NYC's attendance has been dipping. The quality's been good. The team's been good. It's a good team to watch, fun players to watch. It's just not the greatest soccer environment at Yankee Stadium to watch. I think the other reason it's dipping and it's going to continue to dip is that they can't get over this hump of the Eastern Conference semifinal. It's a bad combination of stuff. They got to fix it.
ATL UTD fan number 1 has predictions. For the early match, Atlanta 3-1, Joseph, Barco, and PT. And the Galaxy beating LAFC 3-2. That's his hashtag Thursday thoughts.
Yeah, if the Galaxy win, they've got to score a bunch of goals.
Shiva, and this comes across as, I guess, somewhat rhetorical. Who's going to take advantage of hosting the conference finals at home, Atlanta or Philadelphia? Both teams coming into the match tonight hyped up for that reason.
They should be hyped up. It's a huge opportunity. I mean, the route just changed, and you get to control it if you come out of Mercedes-Benz Stadium tonight with a win. Gives you a little extra motivation. I mean, it doesn't change anything in terms of tactics and stuff, and it doesn't, give one team an advantage or not because of this outcome, but it makes whoever wins tonight the favorite, and it gives them a very clear route to MLS Cup. And it's not to take away from Toronto, but home teams are going to be favored, and the home team's favored tonight. And now there is a huge expectation for Atlanta United to get through Philadelphia tonight and then get the number 4 seed at home in the Eastern Conference Final. And you'd be favored there too. Doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't take away the fact that you've got injuries and you've got to deal with that. But, yeah, it does increase the expectation, that's for sure. And for Philly, I mean, they've been a scrappy, never-say-die underdog kind of team all year. So Jim Curtin giving the Brian Schmetzer speech makes a lot of sense tonight. And I'm sure they'll do it. Although you're getting a lot of people picking Philadelphia tonight, which is crazy. So, they're unequivocally better. That's all I can say.
And as a public service announcement, everybody, don't forget, go to Jay Bailey 86 on Twitter, vote in the Bailey Daily poll because he has one up. And he goes, Atlanta 2 or more, Atlanta by 1 penalties. And he says, I remembered, or Atlanta loses. So that's your 4 options. And Jason, to your point about trying to announce an actual start time, Chris Ashley up in Greenville wanted to know what the actual kickoff time is because there's a Greenville Triumph season celebration, but he wanted to make sure he didn't miss kickoff.
Mike will likely have it. I think it's 8:15, but we'll get that confirmed here in just a couple of minutes.
Michael Head is hoping that our backline does not have a howler like NYCFC did last night. Yep, looking at you, LGP.
We've talked a lot about this, and I know I've talked a lot about it too. It kind of reminds me of the situation with the 2-goal lead being the most dangerous lead in soccer. It's not. LGP is not a bad defender. You remember the mistakes. You remember the teams that blew a 2-goal lead. You don't remember all the teams that had a 2-goal lead and won. You forget that because they should win. You forget, I think, at times how good LGP has been, even this season, which has been I'd say his worst of the 3, but hasn't been bad. You forget the really good performances he's had because some of the mistakes stand out. They're glaring because you don't expect them from a player of his quality. I said it yesterday, and I still stand by it. I think if there's one player that I can pick to have the man of the match performance that would give Atlanta the best chance to win, I think it's Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez. I have faith in the attack to do what they do. This is a night where you're missing your two steady defenders in Parkhurst and in Robinson. You need LGP to be that steady rock that radiates strength to this team. That's what you need. If he does that, if he has that kind of night tonight, barring craziness elsewhere, I think Atlanta wins.
Daniel Price started out by looking back at NYCFC in Toronto, and he admitted that to his view, NYCFC looked rusty and uncomfortable in the first 45. Says tonight's going to be a tight one. If Atlanta's to win, they need to score early and hold the lead. Road to retaining the title just got easier. He thinks it's 1-0 Atlanta. We're at home and should win, and he puts in quotation marks, should.
Yeah, they should win. Take it out of the quotation marks. Atlanta should win tonight. They're the favorite. And I don't think that worries them at all. I don't think they're going to try to deflect that. I don't think they're going to try to say that, whatever, somebody said something, rah, rah, rah. I don't think they're going to do that. I think it is, we're the favorite. We've been here before. We've done this before, and we need to do it again. That's the expectation. I think Atlanta should come in with that mindset, 100%. This is a team that historically they've had great success with. This is a team that is the furthest they've ever been. Philadelphia has never been in this situation. And it's a team that does have injury questions of their own. Alejandro Bedoya expected to play, according to Jim Curtin, expected to start. Kasper Shabilko not going to play. I think he was in a walking boot yesterday after training. He hasn't been able to train. So they've got issues too. Most teams have issues this time of year with injuries and being banged up. I think Atlanta comes in with a stronger defense, which is kind of where you want to be in the postseason. I think they come in with better game changers in the attack with Joseph Martinez, with Ezequiel Barco, with potentially Pity Martinez, either to start or from the bench. They have the pieces to do what they need to do tonight, and it's down to the performance. Even missing pieces on the back line, it's down to the performance tonight from Atlanta United. Everything has fallen their way. Now they have to take advantage in a game they should win, and if they move on, they'll get another game that they should win, and that would take them back to MLS Cup, and you see who survives out west. We're going to take a break. We're going to get Mike Conti on the line, see where his head is at on a Eastern Conference semifinal match day morning right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Soccer Down Here, October 24th. Getting set for playoff action tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta and Philadelphia. I'll be on the call with this man, Mike Conti. What's up, Mike?
Guys, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Nervous? I mean, not as much as going into the first game of the postseason, though. It's a little bit different scenario now that we've went through one, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know why. I had a really bad feeling going into Saturday. Maybe it was just the uncertainty over how you were going to absorb Miles Robinson's loss against Heel and Bunbury and Bow. And I just thought, wow, New England with Bruce Arena. They just saw Atlanta United. They feel confident. What am I missing? So I felt very, very uneasy going into that one. I'm going to be nervous before any game where your season could come to an end that night. But this has a different feel to me. I think Atlanta United, everything that we've heard from their players this week, and Darlington Nagbe gave an interview on 92.9 yesterday where he sounded really, really confident. I think there's a confident feeling in the team this week. And I think one storyline that I kind of keep hearing, and Emerson Hyndman talked about it this week, is I think that confidence comes from the fact that Philly had to play 120 on Sunday, while Atlanta United had a regen day on Sunday. And how is that going to manifest tonight? And does that potentially take Philadelphia out of a pressing style that I'm sure they would like to play? And it sounds like Shabilko is going to be out. That helps Atlanta United too. So we'll see. There are a lot of things that look favorable to Atlanta United coming into tonight. But it would be a major, major mistake to overlook Philadelphia. Atlanta has not beaten Philadelphia this year. And then you have the superstition on top of it, where now you look at what happened at Citi Field last night and how everything is just kind of falling into place suddenly for the winner of this game to host the Eastern Conference Final. It almost feels a little too convenient now, a little too easy. So, in other words, it was a very restless night for me. I don't think I slept more than a couple hours.
And then the biggest question we had in the first hour, Mike, and then I'll give it to you as well. How much do we think the bye is a handicap in disguise?
Yeah, that's going to be a discussion, and I'm going to be really curious to see how LAFC plays tonight. I don't think there's much doubt that New York City was out of rhythm last night. And even after they got the equalizer, and they went into Terminator mode for about 10 minutes, but they couldn't really sustain it, could they? And they just looked out of sync, out of rhythm all night. Obviously, a Bear not being able to give you 90 probably hurt them. The fact that they weren't playing at Yankee Stadium, even though the pitch was the exact same dimension, probably didn't help them. I mean, there were other things in play other than the bye, but it goes back to something that Jason, to your credit, Jason, you've been warning about this for a while. Playing a closed-door friendly in Chicago last week is not enough to get you back into rhythm. And I'll be very curious to see how LAFC looks tonight. The first-round bye is not a big deal if you have decision day and then midweek knockout games and the number one seed plays the following weekend after decision day. It's not a big deal then. But when you have a bye going into an international break and you don't play for 3 weeks, that's a huge deal. And we saw that last night at Citi Field. Now, the game came down to 2 shocking plays by New York City. I mean, Monterita, I have no idea what he was thinking on that challenge at the end. And, you had a horrific back passing sequence right after halftime. But Toronto was the way better team in the first half. So it came down to 2 shocking moments. But Toronto, I thought, on the night outplayed New York City, a team that was out of rhythm. So crazy. That's maybe the first flaw that has come back to bite a team in this new playoff format.
Yeah, you don't get 180 minutes to find a rhythm anymore. So everything is just magnified in this new format. Two teams tonight, both come in having played on the weekend, but as you said, it's been a recurring theme all week long from Atlanta United is you feel pretty confident because Philadelphia played on a wet, soggy field and had to come from behind twice and go 120 minutes against a team in the Red Bulls that take a lot out of you. Atlanta didn't have that kind of match in their first game.
Yeah, and look, I know some people are probably going to point out, well, now look, Seattle played 120 on Saturday. They came back and looked pretty good last night. Toronto played 120 Saturday. They came back and looked pretty good. But Toronto and Seattle did not trail in their matches. There's a difference. And then on top of it, they didn't play a team like Red Bulls that are going to make you run around like chickens with their heads cut off for 120 minutes. And the soggy pitch as well, kind of like running in sand. So there is a difference. There is a big, big difference between what Philadelphia had to go through on Sunday and what Seattle and Toronto both had to do on Saturday against Dallas and DC United, respectively. I think then on top of it, it looks like Shabilko is not going to pull the Willis Reed and come out of the tunnel and surprise everyone the way this is looking. I mean, Felipe reported that he's still in a walking boot. He didn't train yesterday. Jim Curtin said it was very, very unlikely he would play. It sounds like Bedoya is going to play. But, you know, this is going to be so fascinating for me tonight with Philadelphia because of the legs. Because I think Philadelphia probably would want to press. That would probably be their intent. That's probably what they would want to do. Are they going to have the legs to be able to sustain that for 90 or 120 minutes? I'm not sure.
Now, it isn't what they did earlier this season, though. They did come in and sit much deeper than we've seen Philadelphia do maybe in any other match all season.
And that, yes, and that's the counter to all of this. And you made a good point on stoppage time yesterday. You know, we have this perception of Philadelphia. Oh, yeah, Jim Curtin, he wants to come in and play free against Atlanta United, to his credit. That's awesome that he does that. Well, they played free against them at home, but in the matches at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you're right. They were very, very cagey and tactical this past March, and it got them a draw. Last year, yeah, they played free because they were down to 9 men after 10 minutes because Alejandro Bedoya and Harris Medunjanin lost their heads and got a double red card. We don't know what Jim Curtin's intent would have been that night. So is Philadelphia a pressing team that would probably like to press? Yes. But are they a team that has shown a history of playing cagey on the road, especially in Atlanta? Also, yes. To me, that's probably a better strategy for them tonight if they want to find a way to go through. But I also think that plays in the hands of Atlanta United a little bit. So it's one of those things where Philadelphia's best way forward, I think, actually might benefit Atlanta United in some odd way. But I think it also makes the way that both managers set up their teams tonight very, very intriguing. Because Frank de Boer could be expecting Philadelphia to play very conservatively, not quite bunkering, but very, very tactically. And then the intent might change, and the way that he picked his lineup might not fit the occasion. So we'll see. It's going to be extremely fascinating tonight.
And, Mike, I know that everyone's eyes who are following Atlanta United are drawn to the back. And no Miles, no Parkey. Although some of the folks on our timeline this morning are requesting that Cat make his way over to the supporters section to help them out tonight, much like Wando did a couple of weeks ago in San Jose. But what's your gut on the back line? And Jason also mentioned that you're going to have Stephen Glass on in the pregame show at 92.9. Right. What's your gut about who's going to be around and what it may look like?
I don't have a feel for it at all. I think it would come down to 3-5-2 with Pogba or a 4-3-3 with Lorenowitz as a center back. I think those are the two most likely options right now. Do you agree, Jason? I don't really have a feel one way or the other as to what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I would lean to that because we saw it. You know, when you go back to what we've seen here lately, just from a shape perspective, not even getting to personnel. I think you have the 3-5-2, and if you want to call it 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, whatever, it depends on what the second forward's doing. Both are in play because we saw both over the weekend. Now you take Parkhurst out of the equation, you leave Robinson out of the equation. You can still do either one. I think you still have the option to play either way. And what's so tricky is you don't know how Philadelphia is going to come in and play.
Right.
Because you're talking about a Philly team that did a similar thing to you in that they started in one shape and then made a substitution that changed the match, and that changed their shape. And they played in a different way in the 4-2-3-1 with Ilsinho than they did in the 4-4-2 diamond.
I think, the more and more I ponder this, guys, I would, if you held a gun to my head and said, Mike, you have to guess, I would say they would start in a 3-5-2 with Pogba as the left center back, Leandro most central, Franco as the right center back, with Lorenowitz as a defensive midfielder, and you could morph into a 4-3-3 and drop Lorenowitz onto the back line. And then, Pogba plays left, Escobar plays right. You could do that.
Yep.
And then that way that gives you some flexibility within the match to make a tweak without having to make a sub, as Frank did on Saturday.
That's the key. So, I think that's a great point because ideally you have an 11 that will allow you to change the shape without a sub, because going in, you don't know until you get that lineup card from Philadelphia what shape they're going to play in. And it's very different between the two. So you want to have a group that if you start one way, if you start 3-5-2 and say they start in the 4-4-2 diamond and you're getting outplayed in the middle of the field, you can change your shape with the same personnel to better match that. And that's something that you want to have baked into your starting 11.
Yeah, and that's why I think, again, it feels certain to me that Lorenowitz is going to be called upon again tonight. You hope that he's got the legs for it. I think he does. I really do. But again, I think this also is going to put a lot of pressure on Florentin Pogba. And, he's risen to the occasion with the first team more often than not. The other wild card in all of this is Mikey Ambrose. And Jason, you mentioned that we're going to have Glassy on during the pregame show. And Glassy can probably tell us a lot about how valuable Mikey Ambrose was for the twos down the stretch, but also how valuable it was for Mikey to get some games with the twos. He's going to be in the 18 tonight for sure. I have a feeling that I don't know if he went to Nashville or not, but the fact that the twos played one man short, they dressed 17 as opposed to 18 in Nashville, makes me think that after Parkhurst got hurt, it was not a call may have been made to save Mikey Ambrose from that twos game up in Nashville. I mean, I don't know that for sure. I don't even know where he was on Saturday. I don't know if he was at the Benz or in Nashville. But I think Ambrose is absolutely an option in this tonight. And potentially an option to start if you start in a 4-3-3. It wouldn't shock me.
He's a Boy Scout.
Yeah. I
He's
mean,
and
look, and yes, and you had no hesitation. I mean, didn't he start the first game of the year up in D.C., the first league game?
He did.
I mean, you put him in against Monterey. I mean, you've had no hesitation to start Mikey Ambrose in big moments tonight. And I know there's going to be an argument, well, he's been out of the first team too long. Yeah, that's true. But that doesn't mean he hasn't been training with the first team. He hasn't been he's absolutely been at the training ground. He's just worked his way back from an injury. That happens. So because you get hurt doesn't mean you get dropped from the first team. So I think that's in play too. I think if they have to morph into a line of five in the back, then Mo Adams becomes an option. It's interesting that, the big storyline lineup-wise for Atlanta United tonight has nothing to do with whether or not Pity Martinez starts and everything to do with how you're going to deploy guys like Mo Adams, Mikey Ambrose, and Florentin Pogba. But that's where we're at right now because you're running out of center backs.
We got more questions.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yep. Michael Cinco decided to look at statistics. 538 as Atlanta United has a 1 in 5 chance of repeating, but more impressively, a 50-50 shot of making it to MLS Cup. Question to the floor. do we all feel that Atlanta United has a 50% chance of beating both the Union and TFC at home?
I don't know if 538 takes injuries into account. I don't know how their formula works and if injuries are taken into account. I'll be totally honest with you. And it's awesome that the winner of tonight's game is going to have an opportunity to host the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, what a great opportunity now for the winner of this game. I will also say I want no part of Toronto right now. They have not lost in their last 12. And they are, the thing about Toronto that really scares you is they still have a ton of guys who won the MLS Cup 2 years ago on this team. So they have that championship pedigree. Now, this is a bridge that will cross, hopefully, Friday morning. Let's get there first, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of people are celebrating, oh, yeah, New York City's out. We don't have to go to Yankee Stadium. We couldn't have beaten them there.
Hold on there, Cowboy.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily celebrating a potential matchup against TFC. You would like the fact you would have that at home. So in some ways, honestly, John, if you look at the fact that Atlanta United's 18-2-3 across all competitions at home this year, then maybe 50-50 to win the East feels a little bit low, if you're just looking at that. But I think you have to account for the fact that against Philadelphia and Toronto this year, you were 1-2-1. And that includes a draw at home to Philadelphia. And a draw tonight's going to put you in penalties. So I don't know. My head tells me it's probably better than 50-50. My heart tells me maybe not. Because Atlanta United's going to have to play the game of their lives tonight. I really hope that the guys aren't overlooking this Philly team. I don't think they are. I hope the fans aren't overlooking this Philly team. I've seen a lot of bravado on Twitter over the last 24 hours, especially after what happened last night. Do not overlook this team even without Shabilko. They are not here by accident. And I think Philadelphia is good enough to win it all. I mean, if Philadelphia wins tonight and LAFC gets clipped, I think Philadelphia would become the favorite to win it all. I think they are third choice right now among remaining teams, with all due respect to Seattle. And I have a lot of respect for Seattle. You know that. They are outstanding, and they're young. So, I don't know if it's going to be the Alexi Lawless scenario that he was kind of bafflingly pointing out last night, that Philadelphia is going to consider this match to be gravy and just happy to be there. Or if it's going to be what Stu Holden said, that Philadelphia is absolutely good enough if they have the confidence to go into Atlanta and get a result tonight, get a win. I don't know which Philadelphia team we'll see, but they're good. And, to even get to a match against Toronto is going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult tonight. Philadelphia can 100% come in and ruin Atlanta's day. I do go back to what you said about our discussion around how Philadelphia approaches it. They came in early in the season against an Atlanta team that was not the Atlanta squad that we see now. They weren't playing at the same level. It didn't look as good. And they still sat back and defended deep, even after getting a goal, even before they got the goal. They were defending very deep and conceded possession. And it's honestly the only time I can remember seeing them do that. I just wonder tonight, in a place where they've never been in their season, they've never been to an Eastern Conference semifinal, where their confidence level is in that regard about how you approach the match in a place that not many people have come in here and gotten favorable results.
One thing that I think a lot of people forget is that when Philadelphia came in here on St. Patrick's Day, they were reeling a little bit. As much as Atlanta United had struggled to begin the season, Philadelphia was an even worse spot. They had not played CONCACAF. They got blown out at home by TFC, and then they got shut out at Kansas City. They came in here 0-2-0. If I remember correctly, Jason, the way we felt coming into that match was that Philadelphia was going to play for a road draw. And that's basically what they did. It's a different scenario now as far as where they are compared to March 17th. Philadelphia's playing with house money here. They've gotten their first playoff win. no one in Philadelphia is really paying much attention right now. I mean, they're paying more attention to the Union than they have in the past. But I can tell you just from firsthand knowledge that, the Eagles getting blown out by the Cowboys and Joe Girardi being hired today as the Phillies manager is going to kind of dominate the news cycle over a Philadelphia Union road playoff game. So they're playing with house money. Why not come in here and play free and take your best shot? Whatever happens, happens. You lose, you had a great year. You win, you're going to host the Eastern Conference Final. You have nothing to lose. There's way more pressure on Atlanta tonight than Philadelphia. Way 100%. More pressure. Whereas I think on March 17th, there was a lot of pressure on Philadelphia to not lose. And they played not to lose, and they did not lose. They executed that game plan. It's a different feel going into this one tonight than it was on March 17th.
Question about the other action. And we've had a lot of things that have gone up and down the scale this morning. But AA Five Stripes Mike wants to know, how much did the small pitch play in the NYCFC Toronto game, having very little flow and possession on either side?
Probably, I mean, somewhat. I think anytime you play either a Yankee Stadium or last night, you're going to see that type of choppy match. But New York City was holding possession after Toronto scored the goal for about 20 minutes. I think, again, it was more about the home team just being completely out of rhythm. You saw mistakes last night that were shocking. Like late in the second half, Matriza, in the box with a pretty good shooting lane, takes a shot that goes out for a throw.
Yeah,
that's Alexander Matriza.
Sliced it.
Yeah, like when does he ever do that? They just looked uncomfortable and out of sync last night, and some of the remarks made by Domi Tehran after the match make me feel like something bigger that we're not aware of is going on in that dressing room right now. That was a very, very negative post-match press conference that Domi Tehran gave last night. So maybe something else is going on. So long story short, I don't think it had anything to do with the pitch. I think it was just you had a good team in New York City that had a really bad night because they were out of sync.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the pitch affected it either way. I mean, New York City's played on that kind of field, even if it wasn't the same field. They've played on that type of field all season long at home, and they just weren't in it. They just weren't at the same pace. They weren't at the same intensity level that Toronto was, and that's the challenge here. I mean, I think we've seen it throughout the playoffs so far is intensity and the pace of play. It's different. It just feels different. And tonight, that's going to be a big part of it. If Atlanta comes out and gets the first goal and grabs the intensity of it, and this season, 45 matches down in 2019 for Atlanta United, they've only conceded first in 13 of them.
Wow.
If they get the first goal, I don't know how much Philly still has in the tank after having to come from behind against the Red Bulls, going 120. Bedoya is not 100%. I don't care what Jim Curtin says. There's no way Alejandro Bedoya has 100% in the tank right now. It's impossible. I don't know if they can overcome an early goal from Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. And the other aspect of that, too, is it would put the crowd into the game.
Yes.
And that's something that Philadelphia, with all due respect to the New York City supporters, it's not the same. I don't feel like the crowd was ever a factor last night, that it got Toronto shook or rattled in any way emotionally. I think anytime you have an opponent coming into the Benz, there is the potential for that to happen. Philadelphia has not been very good on the road lately. They, let's see, in their last, I'm just looking at this here. Sorry, guys, counting out loud. Last 4 road matches, okay? Shutout at Columbus. They did win at San Jose. VAR screwed that match up. They got shut out by Red Bulls, and they got shut out by Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in their last 4 road matches, they had 2 goals, and 1 was a penalty that should not have been awarded. Right? So, to me, that speaks. Now, granted, I mean, they had the road trip from hell where they had to go Red Bulls to San Jose midweek, back to Philadelphia, and then out to Columbus. So, and they didn't charter any of it.
Right.
That is the road trip from hell. That is really tough. But I think that speaks to their inability to play off the mat when they give up an early goal. Well, and let me give you another example, okay? More in the middle of the season, they get that early goal at DC. Remember when Bedoya grabbed the mic and he was given Player of the Week for that? Okay, they get a goal right off the jump, and they jump all over DC. They win 5-1. But the week before up in Montreal, they got blasted 4-0 because they gave up an early goal there. The road game before that, 4-0 loss at Real Salt Lake. Again, what happened? Early goal. So this has been a big problem for Philadelphia on the road this year. When they give up that early goal, it goes from bad to worse really, really quickly. And more often than not, they have been shut out. When they get the early goal on the road, then they're double tough. Then you start to see like the 3-1 win they got at Orlando. The win they got at Minnesota, although that was all the way back in June. But still, I think valid. This is a team that plays kind of to the rhythm of where the atmosphere takes them. And, the first goal is always going to be critical in any match, but I think especially so tonight, because if that gets the crowd alive, and this crowd was very, very tense on Saturday at the Benz as well. They should have been. It was starting to look very scary there midway through the second half. You get this crowd lit tonight early, Philadelphia's going to have a long night.
2-8-2 on the road this season when the opponent scored first.
Yeah.
That's
going to be the case for any team. I mean, I'm sure Atlanta United giving up the first goal on the road probably might even be a little bit worse than that this year, if not just about the same. So it's just, again, you look at so many of the trends, so many of the numbers. I mean, statistically, everything's telling you Atlanta tonight. But Philadelphia, they're coming in off the biggest win in club history, and that can do one of two things. It can make you complacent and happy to be there, or it can make you put your head down and give you some inspiration. And I think we'll find out pretty early tonight which effect that win on Sunday will have on this team tonight.
All right, so what's our timeline for this evening?
All right, so we'll do a 1-hour pregame show tonight. We're going to go on at 7 o'clock on 92.9 The Game. You mentioned Stephen Glass of Atlanta United, too. He'll join us in the second segment around 7:20. Kickoff, I don't know what the actual kickoff time is. I know a lot of you have been asking me on Twitter. I don't know. I'll find out when I get to the stadium.
I thought around 8:15, just looking at the doubleheader side of it with the TV broadcast.
Last night, I think NYC started at like 7:15. So I think that's about right. And then we'll do a full 1-hour full-time report after the match. All on 92.9 The Game, Sirius XM channel 157, radio.com, and the Atlanta United app.
All right. Rest up as best you can. Try to distract yourself for a few hours, and get ready to do this.
Good luck, right? See you guys. Looking forward to it.
See you tonight, Mike. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get Doug Robertson on the line and get his take from the AJC right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Getting ready for Atlanta and Philadelphia Eastern Conference Semifinal. Number 2, Toronto's booked their spot. They're going to travel in the Eastern Conference Final, and whoever wins tonight gets to host it. We'll be there alongside this man, Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. How's it going, Doug?
It's fine. How are y'all?
It's good. It's good. It's a match day. It's a chilly morning. It's a good thing that we have a roof. It might be a chilly evening at the Benz, but Atlanta United has everything in front of them with New York City losing last night. They have the potential to host the Eastern Conference Final, and we've seen it in the postseason. We've seen it over the 3 years of this club. They're really good at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they go in as the favorite tonight.
That is true. And, Philadelphia likely going to be missing Chabelco, which is a huge loss for them because he's done a lot of damage to Atlanta United. Maybe not as much as Aronson, but he's still a very good, very dangerous player. And Atlanta United has shown that when it can get a few breaks, it typically takes advantage of them. So let's see what happens tonight.
After what we saw last night in the Eastern Conference, Doug, one of our listeners is asking now, after watching NYCFC coming out flat, I think the desired position for the new playoff format is number 2, and that's where Atlanta United is.
2 or 3. You get to keep playing after a short break, which I think is good. I don't really know how to make this work for everybody. I'm sure Atlanta United would probably rather have gotten the 3 weeks off to see if they can get healthy. But, NYCFC tried to do what it could by going to Chicago and playing. But, it wasn't really a home game for them. And Toronto, which had a good first half, but then just got lucky, really, and took advantage of NYCFC's mistakes in the second half.
Yeah, it was a weird one. NYC just never really felt like they got going. It would be highly unexpected if you get either team that feels that disjointed early on in this one after getting a game under their belts in the postseason. It felt like, just reading from your quotes and seeing some of the clips from training this week, looked like a pretty confident Atlanta United squad.
I think they're confident, yeah. They played, I think, a playoff type of game against New England to win that one. It was much different than most of the other games that we saw. So they look good. They look confident. Their defense looked solid. It reminded me of last year's playoff, a solid defense and an opportunistic offense.
When you look
that's a really good point, Doug. I agree with you. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just when you look at what Philadelphia was up against with Red Bulls in the opening round, Red Bulls were going up against an Andre Blake who at times seemed he was kind of out to lunch and had a couple of howlers. How are you anticipating Atlanta United on offense going after Blake to see if he's still kind of shaky here in his second playoff appearance this year? What are you looking for them offensively up top?
I don't think you ever can really go after a goalkeeper a game after like the one he just had. I guess you could try a long range shot at first to see, but unless Pitty's on the field, there's really not anyone on Atlanta United's roster that's going to try to do that. And even when Pitty has, a good bit of the time they're not on goal, so it doesn't really matter at that point. But I do think, Atlanta United, I was watching the NYCFC Toronto game, and there was all these little short combination passing, and some of that was just a result of the size of the field and everything. But I was thinking to myself, this is not how Atlanta United plays at all. They rarely do that kind of passing. And I started to wonder if they would try to do that against Philadelphia, because I think Philadelphia's midfield isn't very quick. It's not very fast. Medunjanin runs like the Tin Man, which I think is pretty funny. Bedoya, if he plays, he's not the quickest of cats, but he's very smart. But I wonder if they try a little bit more of that in this game than they did against New England.
Yeah, it's a group in Philadelphia that very early in the season, when they came out in the 4-4-2 diamond, there was so much talk about Medunjanin not being able to play the base of it. He gets help from Bedoya and his intelligence, his soccer IQ. I think Jamiro Montero is a very underrated midfielder for them, a guy who can get forward for you, play as a 10 in a three-man midfield, and sit in front of Bedoya and Medunjanin, but he can also drop and play with Medunjanin and make up for that lack of pace a little bit. So it's a group that Philadelphia has some different ways to play. They can go 4-4-2, they can go 4-2-3-1, they have a super sub in Ilsinho. It's a little bit of a difficult team to prepare for.
Yeah, part of me, as I was watching Philadelphia last week and thinking about Atlanta United, I also began to wonder, because of Philadelphia's interchangeability, if Atlanta United might almost go, this is going to sound odd, but a version of man-to-man in the midfield. Whereas if the guys do change up, Atlanta United wouldn't, rotate per se with Larinowitz following whoever his guy is all over the field. But some kind of version like that with just a lot of communication. Because otherwise they can confuse you. They can create some numerical advantages in small spaces and then kind of bust through the lines and go.
So when you're looking at the match tonight, I know a lot of folks are thinking about, wondering what P.T. Martinez's engagement is. Is it another situation going forward like we saw last time out, where you have PT and Tito on the bench and bringing them in, say, in 60, if you're thinking like 120 minutes, where it's almost unfair to have those kind of guys on the bench coming in at 60? Is that what you're thinking too?
Yeah. I put out my predicted lineup this morning. You can find from my Twitter at Doug Robertson AJC.
Nice.
And I just, based upon what Frank said, whatever day it was, Tuesday, it just doesn't seem like he's going to put Pitti in the starting lineup. He said he's training well, but, there were comments about attitude and giving it all every day in training, because if you don't, then I'm going to select the guy that does. But then at the very end of it, he said, that's true of everybody, and Pitti is training well. But it was like 2 minutes of this before he finally got to that part, which makes me think that was just kind of a throw-in, just to not make it seem like he was talking specifically about Pitti, but that's who he was asked about.
Yeah, it's such a weird situation with the talent that Atlanta United has, and trying to make it all fit when you've got these different characteristics with different players and different matchups. What do you think about this back line tonight and how it can go? I mean, is it a tough decision in your mind, or do you feel like without Robinson and Parkhurst, it kind of just works itself out?
Yeah, it's weird, because I'm not really particularly concerned about it, because LGP and Franco have started in that back line for quite a while. Pogba has this will, I think, be his 10th start in an MLS game, and probably like 11th or 12th in all competitions, something like that. So he's got the experience too, and they can talk to each other. They can talk to each other in Spanish, which is something that Flo mentioned on Monday that helps him. Pogba does have a tendency to start poorly, the halves and games in which he starts. So Atlanta United cannot let that happen, particularly if Philadelphia gets some set plays early, because they tormented Red Bulls with set plays last week.
So does this one go 90? Does this go 120? I mean, knowing the youth that Philadelphia has with guys like Aronson, who caused problems last time out, how long are you anticipating this one going, say?
90, with Atlanta United winning.
That was a confident take. All right, let's just jump into predictions then. Here we go.
Right.
All right, you already gave you the result. You want to give a score, Doug?
1-0 Atlanta United.
Oh,
Okay.
he's not going with the driving slippers.
He didn't.
I don't need
He's
to.
not feeling
I've
that
got
good
the
about
trophy
it.
now. No, I've got the trophy.
Geez.
I'm locked in, baby.
Where is the trophy, by the way?
It is sitting on my desk. I just, in one of those movie scenes, took my arm and just swept off all my kids' baby photos, wedding photos, past things of importance, because I had to put it beside the Mucha Plata cup. And so that and my laptop are the only two things on my desk now, just driving me to put in as much effort as Joseph Martinez every time I write a story.
And then you finish up with the anointing of the king celebration. Every time you post something, you do that in the office. You sit there with the knee down, authoritative, and just preening for everything on the wall.
Well, I have the kids set up the pyrotechnics too. We have
Fair
those
enough.
set up around the house in different places. So
Okay.
it all works.
All right, just checking.
Okay, 1-0. First half or second half for the goal?
First half.
Okay. I like that night. I'll take that. I'll be happy with it if that's what we get. John, 2-1, right?
John, 3-1, actually.
Well, okay.
I think they get one, and then I think it's 1-0 after 45. I think they get another one in the first 5 minutes of the second half. I think that Philadelphia gets one, say, 75th or 80th, and then as they're trying to push, I think Atlanta United gets a third one in transition. So I'll go with Joseph, I'll go with Barco, and I'll go with Tito for the third one.
I think it's 2-0. I think Atlanta wins 2-0. I think it's a goal in the first 15 and a goal in the last 15 of the first half. I just don't think Philadelphia is going to have the legs, and I don't know how they're going to come out and approach this. If they sit back, I feel like that would be the safest play, but probably the worst play for that group of players. If they expose and get forward, I think they're going to create space in behind, and I just don't know if they can really weather giving up an early goal. And this is a team that's given up a lot of goals late in the first half. I think they do that again here, but I think they're already trailing 1-0 at that point. I think Joseph gets one, and I think Barco gets one. I think Barco can be key with Doug's point about the lack of pace with this midfield. Barco's ability to go left to right, right to left, and cut across and drag players. It's going to create opportunities for others. I think it can create an opportunity for him as well, and he can find one for himself tonight. But 2-0 is my pick. Doug, what else do you have coming up at AJC, and what can people be looking for the rest of the day?
Well, the other question of importance for y'all is, do Joseph, Jeff, and LGP get through without a yellow card?
I hope all of them do. I don't think all of them do, and I'm actually going to go in a little bit different direction than I think everybody else is. I think Jeff picks up a yellow card in the midfield on a foul that he has to make.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
All right. As for what I have, I've done the predicted lineup. I did the Joseph Martinez goal of the year thing, which I still can't decide if it has news value or not. And there should be something about Leandro posted right now on Atlanta Journal-Constitution's website and from my Twitter feed that I hope everyone will go and read.
Doug Robertson, AJC on Twitter, Atlanta United News Now on Facebook. Make sure you are following. Make sure you are subscribed to the AJC for all of the great content. They're really, I don't think there's another paper in the country that commits the resources to covering their MLS team like the AJC does. So they will continue to do that if it makes sense from a business perspective. And we want Doug to continue covering this team. We want Doug to continue being out on the road with us and eating poutine in Montreal.
That was a good time. I mean, for example, and I don't want to call him out because I feel bad, but the Inquirer is not sending Jonathan Tannenwald for this game. which makes me sad because Jonathan is one of the best in the business, and he works his rear end off, and he's very, very good at what he does. And so that makes me sad, particularly when I saw, I don't know how many bylines at the Dallas Cowboys NFL game, and one from Czechoslovakia from the NHL writer. So, people, you got to click on the stories. If you don't click on the stories, then we don't get the audience. If we don't get the audience, then editors have to make decisions. And it's like a defender in the penalty box. Don't make the referee make a decision. Just do the right thing, and please click on the stories.
Yeah, it's a business at the end of the day. So read if you want to keep getting content, it has to be read, it has to be listened to, it has to be consumed, and the people who make the business decisions have to see that. So make sure you are doing all of that with the AJC and with all the great content that Doug's putting out, and we'll put out a Southern Fried Soccer tonight after the game. Hopefully a happy one.
All right, Jason. Thanks, guys.
See you tonight. Be good. We're going to take our final break, come back, and wrap everything up with you guys on Twitter. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Let us know where your head's at going into Atlanta and Philly tonight. We'll be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire, and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Final segment. Get ready for Atlanta and Philly tonight from the Benz. Kickoff will be just after 8 o'clock, probably around 8:15. We're on the air at 7 o'clock on 92.9 The Game, on the radio.com app, on the Atlanta United app, on Sirius XM FC. I think they're picking us up at 7. If not, they'll pick us up probably at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock as we get ready for kickoff. We'll be in the Gulch today, 4:30 for the Tailgate Show presented by Apolinski and Associates. You will be able to watch and or listen depending on our connection issues once we get down to the Gulch and we have an idea. We'll figure that out once we get there, but don't know yet. It's kind of hard to predict. It's been really strange. So we will have a tailgate show for you in one form or fashion at 4:30-ish this afternoon as everything gets cranking.
Speaking of cranking, we have predictions.
Okay.
Jared and Nick are both saying, give me Philly in penalties after playing to 1-1 in 120 minutes.
Man, y'all need to, I don't know. Just go ahead. Do your thing. I get it. It's ridiculous. Scared Atlanta sports fans.
Ridiculous. Incredible.
Scared Atlanta sports fans. That's what
They're
Nick and
petrified.
Jared are. They're typical Atlanta sports fans, scared of success. It's okay. Philadelphia can do that. I mean, let's be real. That can absolutely happen, and it wouldn't be a massive shock. It would be an upset. It would 100% be an upset because Atlanta comes in as the favored team. It's okay to embrace that. They should win tonight. I think they have the ability to win. I like some of the matchups that will present themselves tonight. I really do.
Michael Cinco is requesting a live version of the SDH All-Stars.
Okay. Explain for people who don't necessarily know who all the All-Stars are.
That would be Felipe. That would be Joe Patrick. That would be Doug Robertson. That would be Chris Furmeister. That would be, it could be Mike. It's us. It's the combination of folks that when travel prevents us from doing a show in this time slot, usually what we do is we grab the SDH All-Stars and we'll put together content previewing a match. And so now Michael is requesting a live version of same.
Well, that would have to include Jarrett and Nick and Jess as well, I think, to get the SDH All-Star component fully fleshed out.
That's an SDH roast almost.
No,
That's
roast is a completely and utterly different thing, John. Do you know what a roast is?
Yeah, you're making fun of somebody.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're talking about something. We're not making
what Stephen Ross does for a living.
But no, just because we have a group of people doesn't mean we start making fun of somebody. I mean, it could happen, but that's not the plan. The intention would be, I'm assuming, to probably recap the season in some way. And that's a really good way to do it. We will be doing some shows. We're working on final bookings at some different breweries in the metro Atlanta area in the off season. And that's a good suggestion. That'll be on the list for one of the shows, to try to get as many of the All-Stars as we can on a day or evening or weekend afternoon, whatever the bookings end up being, to try to make that happen. And if you can't join us, you'll be able to listen to it live. But yeah, we're going to try to do that in person. We can let you know that it has been nailed down, and November 19th, we're going to have a roundtable of sorts at Wild Heaven, Beer Wild Heaven in West End, which is their new facility, just opened up in September. It's going to be myself, it's going to be Mike Conti, it's going to be Kevin Egan talking about the Atlanta United season live at Beer Wild Heaven at the West End location. We'll get you time and all that stuff sorted out, but November 19th, and we will try to have a cool raffle item of some sort to raise a little bit of money for the West End Warriors Soccer Club that's based there, that plays at the West End Station Soccer Project. So November 19th, you can mark it down on the calendar. More details to come.
Shiva says that she's looking for Joseph to have a big night to take advantage of Philadelphia's young defense.
Mark McKenzie was shaky in the match against Red Bulls. Jack Elliott's a good player. Jack Elliott at 6'6" is a great player in the air, but on the ground you can beat him with quickness. You saw late in the season Jim Curtin turn to Aurelian Collin a few times in the four-man back line, which was a bit of a surprise. Austin Trusty feels like he's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. I'm assuming it's McKenzie and Elliott, but yeah, they don't exactly exude confidence in that area. And you look at the amount of goals they've given up here lately. I mean, we'll count backwards. You know, they gave up 3 to the Red Bulls. They gave up 2 to NYC on Decision Day. They gave up 2 in Columbus. They gave up 1 to San Jose. Probably should have been 2 because there was a penalty that was taken away by VAR. Gave up 2 to Red Bulls. Gave up 1 to LAFC in a draw. Gave up 1 to Atlanta on August 31st. Gave up 1 to DC on August 24th. Gave up 2 to Chicago. I mean, we're just going all the way back. Gave up 1 to Houston. Gave up 1 to DC. It hasn't been a clean sheet in their last 11. It's just not a group that can be that tight defensively. And you flip it to the Atlanta side, they get 2 goals. They're almost unbeatable with 2 goals at home. So it's a narrow margin for Philadelphia tonight.
Vine City wants to know if there's any chance if the roof is open.
I haven't heard anything. I guess there's a chance, but I think it's going to be a little chilly. I don't know if.
So you're saying
there's
a chance?
I don't make the decision, so I'm not saying anything. I haven't seen that they say it's not going to be open tonight, which they normally don't say. I think they normally say it will be open if it could be open. I haven't even checked the weather. I don't know if there's a chance of rain or anything like that. So I am not an expert in this situation.
You are not in charge of the turning the engine on and off to rotate the entire stadium so the Venus flytrap opens up?
No, I have nothing to do with that.
Michael Ruiz says, okay, who's going to let their grandmother serve as tribute and bless the team during the national anthem like that grandmother did for Mexico in the 2018 World Cup? We need blessings for Atlanta United.
Whatever good luck charms you got to do, you need to do them. Whatever it takes. It's the playoffs. Whatever your lucky outfit is, whatever you got to do, it's time to do it.
2 Bits Too Furious says, I predict Joseph Martinez scores 14 goals and Philadelphia is so humiliated they actually stop playing soccer.
I'm going to say that's highly unlikely. I think that's a fair prediction that is unlikely.
Take the under?
Yes.
Take the under from 14.
Yeah.
Walt Baxley had a question. He says he saw where Philly was practicing at the training grounds. How does that work? Do they train at different times, and do they cross paths?
They train at different times. But, yeah, it happens a lot. Teams generally, when they come in early, they train at the training ground because the turf, they can't train at the stadium. They train on the same turf at the training ground. So it's pretty common. I don't know how many other teams around the league do that, but we've generally seen most teams when they come in a day early to Atlanta, they train up in Marietta.
Ricky Ricardo says 2-1 Atlanta United. Philly scores first. Atlanta calms down. Philly crumbles under the weight of a Joseph Brace.
Only one time this season has Atlanta conceded first and won, and that was in the Open Cup against Charleston. They haven't conceded first much at all this season, only 13 times. 10 in MLS, 2 in CONCACAF, 1 in the Open Cup. They won the Open Cup game where Charleston scored first. They drew with Philadelphia in the regular season when Philly scored first. They lost the rest. But that means out of 45 matches, 32 times they scored first.
Mr. Green is blowing all of our predictions out of the water. He says 4-0 again, Atlanta against a 10-man Philadelphia. Joseph with 2, including a PK Dog So Red, and OG and Jeff scores in the 55th. So I guess that means that Sam Jones gets another tattoo.
The Dog So Red thing, I mean, it's definitely a point that plays into this tonight because of Atlanta's pace and Philadelphia's lack of it. You could get in a situation where there's a late tackle, a bad tackle, trip somebody from behind, last man, and you get that type of situation for Philadelphia. So it's the playoffs. Usually that bar is set pretty high, but Dog So is something that if it is, it is. It's not as much of a judgment. Once you hit those certain requirements, it just is or it isn't. And Philadelphia could get caught in that. I think, one thing we haven't talked about when it comes to Philly and tactics is how high of a line do they play tonight?
Yeah.
Because if they're going to sit back, and that's what they did back in March, okay, you're not going to be in that situation very much. But if they come out and press, you're going to have to play a high line. You can't press and play a deeper line because then you just leave these gaps, and Atlanta will kill you through that. You have to step up, and do you feel like you have the pace on the back line to be able to play that higher line? If you do, you're going to get in a situation where Mark McKenzie, who has some pace, is going to have to make a difficult decision. Elliott, who's not exactly a ton of pace, is going to have to make a difficult decision on a tackle. Medunjan's not a pacey player. He's going to have to make a decision. It can create that opportunity. And when you have guys who are so good in the 1v1, like Barco, like Nagbe, if Pitti starts, he's that guy too. Tito is that guy. Merrim is that guy. You're going to have some tackles that Philadelphia could get themselves in trouble with.
A couple of other folks have given predictions. I'll just blow through them here real quick. Austin Arvinson says 3-1. Michael Valverde 4-0. Noah Hendricks says 3-2 in 120 minutes. And Joe Bost says, I'm nervous as hell, optimistically hopeful. Backline's my question, kind of thinking a 4-3-3 to be conservative. Hell if I know. Got my hashtag HMAS scarf ready to go.
That's what I'm talking about. Roberto Rojas got his scarf yesterday. I know a few others I would assume, have received them by now, who have ordered them. We had some people grab one at the brew house this week as well. If you want to get your scarf for $20, you can come see us in the Gulch early today if you can get down there. If you can't, come meet us at the brew house or at the Gulch or wherever we're at. Send us a message. We can get you taken care of. Just kick in an extra $5 for the shipping, and we'll get it out to you. It's been a nice hit, and it's gotten some nice conversation going on which holding midfielder you appreciate.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that when we're out in public and you sit there and a person wants to add that scarf to their collection, it's almost like what's the question? So you pass on the bridge. Who's your favorite holding midfielder? So I think that's fun to have that kind of discussion when people walk up.
Yeah, always a good one.
And then Daniel Price has actually posted a prayer for folks who wish to pray for this evening as well. Got some odds and ends before we go, I think.
Yeah, a couple things. Canada has moved into the number 6 spot in CONCACAF in the FIFA rankings. So if they maintain that, they will be in the hex. You have to be top 6 in the FIFA rankings. I believe it is June of 2020. Canada, because of the win over the United States in a meaningful match in the CONCACAF Nations League, they are now number 6. So if the hex was to start right now and you were locked in, it would be Mexico, U.S., Jamaica, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Canada. 3 go to the World Cup. Number 4 goes into a big, long playoff situation with the rest of CONCACAF. Whoever gets through the rest then plays off with number 4. The winner of that playoff plays in the Intercontinental playoff. So you want to avoid 4th place. You want to get in the top 3 to guarantee you're going. It's not exactly a guarantee for the U.S. at this point, and Canada has to feel pretty good about it. Now, they got to hold their spot. They got to continue to get wins in CONCACAF Nations League, and I think they have to hope that El Salvador doesn't pick up meaningful wins. That part's really important as well. That's who they're battling it out with. But Canada right now, because of the win over the U.S., they get into that spot. What else do we have? Anything that we need to touch on? We had some USL Championship games last night. The Charleston Battery got through in a penalty shootout in Ottawa. They pulled the upset. Birmingham pulled the upset over North Carolina with a late goal from J.J. Williams. A shocking goal in that one. So 2 upsets in the East. Out west, the expected teams went through. New Mexico got a goal in the first 14 seconds in Sacramento, but they still
TV
lost
graphics
2-1.
aren't even up yet, and they scored.
Yeah, well, it didn't matter. They lost on a world-class goal to win it in the final 10 minutes. USL Championship playoffs will continue this weekend.
And then James McClatchy with the last question before we go. So if the opposition practices at United's training facility on their fields, is it okay to spy on the practice?
I mean, you're kind of opening yourself up to it, I guess. I mean, it's not like you can say, close your eyes, don't peek.
Nothing to see here.
Kind of is what it is. It's also, I mean, look, in those types of sessions, you're not going to show anything. You might show something from a set piece. You might work on a set piece routine. You've probably planned not to work on anything that is an issue, anything that you're trying to keep under wraps.
I'm going to show the front of my playbook here at practice at the opposition facility.
Yeah, you're not going to do that. You're going to do that in the last practice at home, and you're going to come in. You're going to basically have a workout, an easy day, whatever you're doing, your basic stuff, and get ready to play. You're not going to be working on anything that would be a surprise. It's all refining at that point. So we shall see. We'll see if their refining worked. We'll see what their lineup looks like. I want to see what Philadelphia comes out in. Is it the 4-4-2? Is it the 4-2-3-1? I want to see how Atlanta comes out. Is it the 4-4-2/4-3-3, or is it the 3-5-2? Who gets the call in the back line? What is it going to look like when that lineup sheet is filled out by Frank DeBoer? Is Pity Martinez on it? I think Mikey Ambrose will be on it, but where? Florentine Pogba, same thing. Where? Jeff Larentowicz, where is he going to play? Is it backline? Is it midfield? There's a lot of questions going into a huge match tonight, but as I've said all day, Atlanta is the favorite. I think they have to perform like the favorite if they want to get through, and I think you should expect them to perform like the favorite. This is a team that has been very, very good in the postseason. They've been very, very good in knockout situations over the last year. Just in the postseason, in Atlanta United's history, 7 matches, 5 clean sheets. I don't think you have a scoreless draw tonight. I think Atlanta gets goals, and I think they've shown that they can get clean sheets in this time of year. Brad Gazan is having an amazing year when you dig into all of it. The amount of clean sheets he's had, he's been such a stud for this team all year long. And that's where you're at. You're going to have Brad Gazan make a big save tonight. You're going to need him to try to add his 20th clean sheet in 2019.
Crazy.
19 total in 43 matches. 14 in the regular season, 2 in the Open Cup, 2 in CONCACAF, 1 in the postseason so far. Clean sheet number 20, and Atlanta goes through. And I think even with the defensive issues, Atlanta can do that. And I think they should go through tonight. And this is the type of performance where you get a little bit of a boost knowing that you'll get that chance to host the Eastern Conference Final, knowing that you'd be playing a team that you beat in your building earlier this year. They rotated their lineup. We know. Get to that if you get to that. But that gives you that little extra push. Joseph Martinez, he said he'll kick you if you don't give him what he wants to see early on from an intensity standpoint. He'll kick you. He probably would, too. I don't want to have to find out. This is a team that is built for these types of moments. They have delivered in the past. They need to deliver again because this is a team that can win MLS Cup. They've got to keep surviving and advancing, and that's what we're going to see tonight. So 7 o'clock, 92.9 The Game. We will get you set for everything. Kickoff will be just after 8. We'll be back tomorrow on an Overreaction Friday. I think it is the first Overreaction Friday maybe ever, at least in a long, long time. But we'll have that tomorrow morning starting at 9 o'clock. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for chiming in with questions and comments all morning long. Before we get to Overreaction Friday, we'll have a tailgate show for you about 4:30, either on Twitter or here on the app. So thanks, everybody. Much plot, y'all.
Much plot.